Hey everyone, Jeff here from Films at Home, and today we're going to look at a new 4K release from Arrow Video, which was released by StudioCanal over in the UK. That is Flash Gordon. Hey everyone, so thanks for coming back to the channel for this review. I figured we would take a quick break from Hitchcock since I've now reviewed half of the Hitchcock set, doing Psycho and Vertigo. I'll get back to Rear Window and The Birds very shortly, but wanted to take a break here to review and acknowledge this new 4K release from Arrow Video in the US and StudioCanal in the UK of a cult classic sci-fi movie, and that is Flash Gordon. So what I've got here is I have the Arrow US Limited Collector's Edition. There's a very similar edition that is being released in the UK by StudioCanal, and StudioCanal actually did the 4K transfer on this, so it's not Arrow Video doing the transfer. StudioCanal did the transfer, and Arrow simply has the distribution rights to the United States as part of that deal. So we're looking at a StudioCanal transfer, not an Arrow Video, but overall we'll be looking at Arrow Video's packaging and special features and things of that sort. So Flash Gordon, this is from 1980. It's a Universal Studios movie, and it's another one that's been licensed out to other distributors to do a 4K Blu-ray, which is exciting because it means we'll probably get more catalog titles from places like Universal. Now that they've licensed out both Pitch Black and Flash Gordon, maybe we'll see Disney license out some of the MGM or Fox titles. Maybe we'll see Warner license out some titles, Paramount, who knows? But this is a good sign for the way 4K Blu-ray is headed. Now, the movie was shot on film, of course, it being 1980, and so we are getting a full 4K restoration from the camera negatives, which is great. They also have done the restoration with HDR10 as well as Dolby Vision, and there is a 5.1 and a 2.0 DTS HD track included. So we'll dive into all of that, but that gives you a little bit of background. Now, on the visuals for this 4K, the thing I was most impressed by was the color. I viewed this on a Hisense TV, which has Dolby Vision, so I was able to get a Dolby Vision picture, as well as on my projector, which is just HDR10, and a Samsung QLED. So I have a few different reference points just throughout my house to watch these movies on and review them. I really liked the way this looked in Dolby Vision. If you have a Dolby Vision capable setup, you're going to be very pleased with the colors here. But even in HDR10, which is where I sourced these screenshots that I'm giving to you here, and of course these are compressed, right? They're me taking a picture of the screen, uploaded to YouTube. Things are compressed, so you have to take all of these with a grain of salt. They're more of just a guide than an absolute truth as to how things look. But you can see in these pictures how colorful even the HDR10 is, and the Dolby Vision cranks that up a notch, makes it really bright, really colorful, which is great for a movie like Flash Gordon, which is full of color. I mean, in vibrant colors too. Yellows, reds, oranges, pinks, purples. I mean, it is like an 80s outfit in a movie. It is so bright and colorful, and that was the best part of this for me, was definitely the HDR. Now, for detail and like transfer quality, picture quality, it was shot on film, so you're gonna get a decent grain structure. Grain wasn't overbearing, it looked pretty good. Doesn't look like any digital noise reduction was done. You can clearly see the grain, so we're getting a very faithful image. I wouldn't expect anything less from StudioCanal. They do a great job with their transfers. Now, the one thing that I don't know if this is the transfer or maybe just the source material, but there are a few instances where the detail is a little bit soft. It's not as detailed as, say, something like Pitch Black was. Now, obviously, that movie is 20 years newer, but I even saw more detail in releases like Jaws, like Vertigo, like Psycho, just to name a few that are recent on the top of my head. Those 4K releases, even though they're older movies, also shot on film, were more detailed. This one's a little bit soft around the edges. I'll show you a close-up here of a few faces, and you can see it's a little bit soft. It's not as sharply detailed as some of the other 4K releases I've seen. So there is I detract from the picture quality a little bit there, but again, I don't know if that's the source quality or if it's the transfer quality. It's really hard to tell. My guess is that it's probably a source quality issue, because there are some sequences which are extremely detailed and I was very happy with, and then others like the one I showed you that were a little soft. So it's kind of hit or miss. And when it's hit or miss like that, I tend to think it's usually the source material, because the transfer where it can be great is great and lacks in some other areas. So it's not a knock necessarily against StudioCanal, but I'd say that this is not the better of the two between Pitch Black and Flash Gordon. Not the better of the two from a strictly 4K detail quality, picture quality standpoint, but it blows Pitch Black out of the water, in my opinion, with the HDR and the Dolby Vision. So a little bit of a trade-off. If you like colorful movies, if you like vibrant colors, really bright picture, if you love, this would look great on an OLED TV. It looks great even on a projector. It would look great on any TV, but if you've got that Dolby Vision or you got an OLED that can really, really pump some color, you're gonna have a great time with this release. And that was one of my favorite things about it, was just how fun it is to watch. Now for audio in this release, we have, like I said, a 5.1 and a 2.0 DTS HD master audio track. Now I have very powerful front speakers. I've got a couple of prime tower speakers from SVS Sound. They're like 4 feet tall. They're excellent front speakers, and so I usually get a pretty good experience even from a 2.0 track. But as you know in some of my reviews, I do like to test out both, obviously, and I sometimes lean towards the upgraded, the one that's not as authentic or as, true to the source, and go to that 5.1. In this case, though, I actually lean towards that 2.0. I thought it was a better experience. The front speakers, you're going to want to have very good fronts, and it doesn't use the center channel, right? It's just stereo left and right. So if you don't have those, you may be better off balancing the sound across all 5 speakers in your system. And the 5.1 does give you a little bit more bass, obviously, with the subwoofer being involved. But I can take away from that because I thought the 2.0 was a little bit more full, which is surprising. You'd think the full surround would be more full, but there wasn't a ton of surround effects happening. I wasn't really impressed by that. I was more impressed by the sound coming right at me from those front speakers and having everything, funneled through those 2 channels. That gave me a better experience for this release. And so even though I technically, the 5.1 should be better, I preferred the 2.0. So ultimately it's going to come down to you and your setup, but that's something to look at. You can play with that in the audio setup right in the menu. And then for subtitles, the only thing available is English SDH for hard of hearing, deaf people. So there is no other subtitles, no French, Spanish, any other language, unfortunately. So that's your only option there. Now for packaging, we've got the pretty standard Arrow kind of heavy cardboard matte box, minimalist stuff in the back. It has a card, but I get rid of those cards and just go with the box set. And then it's your pretty standard slipcase. It does come with a poster, which is great about Arrow limited editions. You have the theatrical here, which is great, but then they also give you the new Arrow artwork on the other side. I love the posters that come with Arrow Video. I have The Hills Have Eyes. That's one of my favorite posters from that set that they did, and they always do a great job with their limited editions, and especially artwork, so those are always cool to have. And then Arrow's included this 60-page booklet, which basically has a few essays from different people on the movie, on the cultural impact it had, which is really cool because this is obviously a cult classic. And it also has, it's got essays from Neil Snowden, Dennis Cazillo, A.K. Benedict, nobody that I really knew, but it also has a few notes about the restoration. So it was scanned from the original 35mm camera negative, 4K 16-bit resolution, HDR Dolby Vision. It was approved by the director, Mike Hodges, and a lot of this stuff was awesome. One thing they do note, though, and this is interesting, because the work was carried out at a high resolution, the wire work was clearly visible, and Mike Hodges, the director, actually made the decision to digitally remove or reduce that because they weren't as prominent in the original theatrical or home video releases. And wire work, meaning like wires attached to actors and actresses to obviously for some of the stunts and stuff, all of a sudden those were more visible. So they did go in and digitally remove some of that, but that's the only real thing that was changed other than the soundtrack being the original stereo and then remixed at 5.1. So, that's about it, and the director was involved and did a great job. So now the packaging here, pretty standard black case. It has 2 discs. First disc is the 4K with a load of special features I'll cover in a minute. But the second disc actually has the Life After Flash documentary, which is a feature-length documentary on the life of Sam Jones since he was Flash Gordon, and includes all the cast and crew, Stan Lee, Robert Rodriguez, plenty of other people, interviews with celebrity fans, all kinds of stuff on the Blu-ray disc. So that's cool. And so you've got the 4K disc here. Flip the tray. You've got Life After Flash on Blu-ray, which is a good documentary. And then they have like these kind of like theater cards, different art cards. There's some cool art on the back, art on the front, some kind of cool stuff like that. So, typical Arrow stuff. I mean, they include a lot of goodies, and the inclusion of that documentary is really cool. Now, other special features that are available in the 4K, we've got an audio commentary with the director Mike Hodges, another one with Brian Blessed, interviews with all the actors and actresses throughout the movie, behind the scenes, a couple of documentaries, survival game, an episode from the animated Flash Gordon TV show, deleted scenes, original endings, interviews with the prop collector, 35th anniversary green room where Mike Hodges meets the cast for the first time since filming, a 35th anniversary reunion, stills gallery, trailers, Easter eggs, all kinds of stuff. So very cool for fans of this movie. It is loaded with features, and those are all on the 4K disc, and then you get that documentary and some extra features on the Blu-ray as well. So overall, this is a solid release from Arrow and a good transfer from StudioCanal. I'm really impressed with the coloring, the HDR, and the Dolby Vision. I was very happy with all of that. The source material did leave a little bit to be desired, so the 4K quality wasn't as pristine as some other titles I've looked at recently, but again, you can only work with what you're given, and given that they had to remove some things in post just to make it look, not so cheesy. I'm sure it was the source material that was the issue with some of the softness and some things that maybe were out of focus. Most of that time, that comes down to the source versus the transfer. So StudioCanal did a great job with what they had. It's a very good 4K transfer, but mostly impressed with the color. I do enjoy that there's a 5.1 and a 2.0 option. Preferred that 2.0. And then packaging, it's really hard to beat Arrow on these. They do a great job. The poster, the booklet, all those special features. The StudioCanal release is also very nice. So if you're in the UK, don't sleep on that. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really talk about that one. But I've seen pictures, and that one looks great as well. So I think in both cases, it's kind of a win-win, whether you're in the US or the UK. You're getting a great package. You're getting a solid video transfer. I'd say a 4 out of 5. Pretty good audio. Overall, though, it's the best it's ever looked, and that's what 4K is all about. Regardless of what the source is like, this is the best that Flash Gordon has ever looked, even theatrically. This looks better than it did in theaters when it first came out, when you were watching this on 35mm, because you couldn't even see the wire work in those original prints. And with the restoration they've done here, all of a sudden you started to see wires, things got more detailed, they had to remove them. So it's even better than theatrical print, which is crazy. You don't often see that, but I mean, there's factual proof that this is more detailed than the theatrical print. Otherwise, they would have removed those things in post way back in 1980. So I will leave a link to purchase this down in the description. If you do that, that helps support my channel, so I appreciate it. It's also available at other retailers, so obviously shop around. If you buy through Amazon, that helps me, but not to say you can't get a great deal somewhere else. Shop your independent places, check out Best Buy, check out everywhere. There's always great places to buy physical media, especially online. So check them all out, but if you use Amazon, that does help support me, and I appreciate it. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the review. Make sure you check out all the other links down in my description for ways you can support me, PayPal donations, becoming a member on the channel, various different links and things that you can purchase items through that help my channel, all kinds of ways you can do that. And then of course, subscribing and liking the video and sharing my videos wherever you can. We're well on our way to 50,000 subscribers, which is awesome. We should cross 45,000 as I'm making this video. My goal was 50K by the end of the year. I think we're gonna hit it, which is amazing. So thank you to you all for that. And thank you for watching this review. Hopefully you check out Flash Gordon on 4K. It's a fun movie. It's an awesome watch, and it'll show off your display like you wouldn't believe with the colors. So highly recommended. And that's about it. So thanks for watching again. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.